My name is Steve Snap, and I'd like to thank you for watching this episode of LeadSmart Training. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to use the power of list views in LeadSmart. In my opinion, list views are one of the most powerful tools for salespeople. A list view gives you the access that you want to all of the data that you want in the format that you want to see it in. It's very easy to use and very easy to modify when needed. Let's get started. So starting anywhere in LeadSmart, if I want to go to a list view, I simply select the object that I want to review. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and click on the Accounts tab here, which takes me to what we call the Account homepage. Now in the down arrow here, you'll see a list of available list views. So for example, I can already look at all accounts if I want to do that, or I could look at customers, for example. And those are pre-existing list views that I can use. If I want to modify them, I can, or I can go ahead and create my own. The question I want to ask myself is, do I want to create a brand new list view, or do I want to use an existing list view and simply clone it? So in this example, I'm going to go ahead and clone the list view. So from the customer list view, I'm going to go ahead and create another list view called Customers in Georgia. So over on the right-hand side, I'll select the list view controls, and I'll go ahead and select Clone. What this does is it takes all the criteria from the customer's list view, and it allows me to make a copy, similar to Save As in Word or something. So then I'm going to go ahead and give it a name, what we call an API name, and then I'll allow everybody on my team or in my company to see that. So I'll go ahead and select Save, and then what it does is it basically just copies that original list view. Now what I want to do is over on the right-hand side where the filters exist, I want to modify these filters. So I want to keep the filter that says all my customers, but I want to add a filter that says customers in Georgia. So I'm going to make a little mental note here that I'm looking at the billing state. That's the field that I'm looking for. And so I'll go ahead and add a field. I'll scroll down to billing state. I typed in billing and found billing state. And then I'm simply going to type in billing state equals Georgia. Now once I select that, you'll now see that my filter criteria allow me to see customers and those customers that are in Georgia. I'll go ahead and at this point and I'll hit save, and now you'll see that that list gets much shorter. So that's the way to create a list view when you're cloning it. And so any list view that exists in the system, you can clone. Now, a couple things on this I just want to touch on before I move into the other example is, first of all, we talked about the filter criteria. Well, one thing we didn't talk about is what we call filter logic. So right now, this list view is showing me all records where the type details is equal customer and the billing state is equal to Georgia. Like I showed you before, if I want to remove that exclusion, I can take that filter off and save it. And now it's going to show me all the customers again. I don't really want that, but I just wanted to show you how that works. So I'll go ahead and add the billing state back in, and then I'll show you how to use what we call filter logic. So I'll go ahead and add Georgia back in here. But now what I'm going to do is I want to talk about filter logic. So in this example, when I click filter logic, it shows me that the filter is looking for all the records that are number one, type equals customer, and number two, billing state equals Georgia. Now, if I wanted to do records that were customers or Georgia, I can simply change this to or, and I hit save, and you'll see that I basically go back to my original customer list. So in this case, you rarely do or, but it is an option available to you if you're doing something a little more sophisticated. In this example, obviously, we want all of our customers that are both customers and are in Georgia. So you understand that example. But now let's talk about creating a new list view from scratch. So again, I have my list view controls over here, and I can go ahead and select new, and I'll go ahead and do that. And I'll just say all records, I'll say all accounts rather, in Georgia. Let's say GA here. So again, I'll go ahead and select my list view here, and I'll hit save. Now when I do that, I have a couple things that I need to pay attention to. The first thing is that it defaults by giving me the layout or the columns that are kind of the generic or default layout or columns in a list view, and I can modify that. So like I was doing before, I'm going to go ahead and add a filter that says billing state equals Georgia. So we'll go ahead and do that here real quick. And that's all fine, and that's all really good. And again, we've got 3 accounts total that are in Georgia. Now what I want to do is I want to change this to show all accounts. So I don't want it to just be my account. So I'll go ahead and change this to all accounts. You'll see the list grow a little bit. And then finally, I want to modify the list view. Let's say I want to add some additional columns to this list view. So in this example, I'm going to go back to my list view controls, and I'm going to go ahead and modify or select fields to display. So let's say I want to go ahead and add units purchased, days since last update, and maybe there's some other information here that I want to go ahead and add. What I've essentially done is I've selected those fields from the left-hand side, and I've pushed them over to the right-hand side. And then finally, once they're over on the right-hand side, if I want to go ahead and move them around or reorganize them, I can do that, and finally I can save. So now what you'll see is that those additional columns that I've just selected have been added. And now I have the ability, as I said earlier, to modify the criteria. So the basic idea is a list view gives you tremendous flexibility. It gives you the ability to modify the data that you work with, present it in a format that you choose, filter on it, sort on it, and work with it in many, many different ways. And once you have a list view created, you can then access it from various places. You can access it from mobile, you can access it obviously from the browser, and it really gives you a very simple way to modify and manipulate data. I will end by saying that a list view is not a report. There are other things that you can do with a report that you can't do with a list view, and obviously you can see one of our training episodes for information on how to do reports. Thank you.